Thank you. Now we're going to move into discussion items. Graduation.
I want to bring up the graduation issue because it seems that we should never have to have a graduation ceremony when students are at athletic events. I'd like us to consider either moving it to Sunday afternoon. Oak Park has done that successfully. I know we've had it in the parking lot, but Proviso East had theirs Sunday afternoon at the Rosemont. I can attest to that. I drove through that. And Leiden has theirs also at the Rosemont Theater, so there's nothing to preclude us from moving the graduation date to a different day, or, I don't know, if we had to consider a different venue because we can't park anywhere, maybe we consider a different auditorium that we can go to. But I think it's a shame that students couldn't cross the stage on graduation day. That's a once in a lifetime.
Anybody else?
Laura, I think regarding that topic, I've been bringing this up for several years, and I totally agree with the problem of having athletes have a conflict, especially when they're sort of at the pinnacle of their careers. I know Kevin's been working on this too. Realistically, with the zoo on Sunday, since they're open till 7:30 at night, it's packed. And I don't think it's necessarily feasible to do it on Sunday as long as they're going to be open that late. However, you just brought up a reasonable idea of maybe investigating alternative venues.
Alternative venues or a different day. Why do we have to have it on Friday? Why can't we have it Monday or the next day? In 2010, when my son graduated, who was the third in a row, it was after Memorial Day. So it's only been 4 years at most that kids have been, or young people, not kids, our young people have been graduating prior to Memorial Day. So why does it have to be that weekend? Why can't it be the Wednesday after the events? Why can't it be any other day but when they're trying to qualify for state?
Well, the issue we run into is that we have softball and baseball now going on this week, so I think you'd still run into the regionals and sectionals for those sports. Girls soccer, boys volleyball, girls softball, and boys baseball. So we still have 4 sports going on, because we talked about maybe moving it to the Thursday before the holiday weekend so that there wouldn't be the conflict with traffic at the zoo.
Well, that's why most schools, I think, that don't have the parking problem we do it Sunday afternoon.
They do.
Yeah.
It's just what it is.
They do.
Okay.
Or we start to look at alternative venues, different auditoriums.
Can somebody look? Can you look into that, Kevin? Or
Anybody could look. I can have somebody look on our staff look into that. I just want to prepare the board that it's not like a renting out RB. That's like $10,000-$15,000 when you rent out Rosemont, or at U46 we used to rent out the Sears Center, and it was something like, $10,000. We would graduate all 4 high schools in one day. You got 2 hours.
But Kevin, I'm thinking, I'm a parent. I spent a lot of money in taxes, and I brought my kid here to school for 4 years, and I don't get to see him walk across the stage. My kid goes to a state college. Not everybody, a lot of kids say, I don't want to do that graduation. So I never get to see my kid walk across the stage.
I agree with you.
That's just not
I
an
understand
option.
that it kind of goes back to our original thing of every year as a principal or as a superintendent, we get complaints because prom falls on the night before a doubleheader or the conference track meet or
Water polo's girls sectional.
Right.
More than one
you
year.
always have some. Spring has been. I've been in every high school I've been at. There's always somebody either showing up to prom in a track uniform or.
I mean, you can't even guarantee it on a Sunday. There's a certain school I'm aware of that graduated at Rockefeller Center, and there was a lacrosse tournament going on and a rugby tournament going on, and students were not able to make their graduation in Sunday afternoon at Rockefeller Center.
Well, but I think we need to put
Rockefeller
priority.
Chapel.
Is graduation a priority? It's one of our district goals.
So until then we should wait. We should delay graduation until the spring sports are totally done with.
That's fine.
Then you're doing mid-June and then...
Yeah, because if they're in the regionals or sectionals, because baseball's still going on.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't believe we can't find a day.
Let me look at the IHSA calendar, and see if there's an opportunity to do it maybe on the Thursday.
I mean, as a parent, would you be okay with your kid not going across the stage?
Laura, nobody's disagreeing with you.
Nobody's
But
disagreeing, it's
look-
just that in order to have a guarantee, the only true guarantee is that the sports are totally done with.
Or maybe
Well,
earlier?
hey, Kevin,
If
here,
we can
wait,
look at
what
the
if we
calendar.
paid the zoo to close early?
All right, don't write that down.
Yes.
Do not write that
Especially
down.
on a Sunday.
All right, so Kevin's gonna look at the IHHA and we'll go from there.
And let's investigate talking to the zoo. We're a year ahead of time and saying, could we have that one Sunday or one, let's investigate
I mean,
it.
I will tell you right
Not
now.
on that
we need
weekend.
to be
Not
realistic.
on that weekend.
Can I tell you right now, last Sunday, I left St. Louis Church and the traffic was backed up going eastbound, almost to Prairie, and then on the south parking lot, it was jammed up.
Listen,
Well,
Memorial
maybe
Day
the-
weekend's like their biggest
Yeah.
weekend. They're not just losing parking revenue, you'd be talking about concession
Concessions,
revenue
yeah.
and different. So let's not even, let me check
Let's-
the
check.
IHSA calendar and see, because they have to lay out the calendar now 2 years in advance. So we should be able to find out when there's a regional let's see if there's an open date.
Okay.
And
If we
either
can do it, we can
alternatives.
do it.
Because, you know, like our home church rents space out to the symphony. I can't believe that'd be a $20,000 rental. The DuPage County, so there's a lot of places that have large spaces that may be an option for us.
Okay, we'll do some more researching.
How about like the Sunday after Memorial Day?
Yeah, it's just pushing, I'm not, Sundays
No,
are
just-
bad
just-
here. The zoo's
Yeah.
weekends are Monday, Friday,
Right, but
Saturday, Sunday.
if they close on a
So-
non-Memorial Day
They're not gonna
Sunday.
close on us.
So John, Kevin said he'll look at the
Why not? May I-
calendar.
may I-
Let's
Let's
start
take a
with
look
the
and
calendar.
Let's
and
start
see
with
where
the
the calendar shakes out.
All right,
Right, and Art will be here in June.
Yeah.
so we'll,
So, I mean, this is the same questions that Laura and John asked me 3 years ago. On
That's
this- the same exact time, because we had track kids miss it your first year. And we did a lot of investigation. We polled the staff, how many of them would be willing to come in on a Sunday after they were off the clock, not on. And there were some concerns about that. There was concerns about coming back on a Sunday of a 3-day weekend, in the middle of their 3-day weekend to come to graduation. So let's start with the calendar and see if there's an open day, because maybe we can do this on Thursday or immediately following on the Monday after the holiday, or the Tuesday following the holiday weekend. So let me look into that.
Okay, thanks.
Start with the
all right,
calendar.
shenanigans,
There was some questions asked about that, just so the board's up. It's,
Yeah, this is news to us. There's a
Yeah.
shenanigan
Yeah.
issue, so start from the beginning.
So the historical, as I invited the students.
And no shenanigans.
As I invited the students to come and meet with me, the stipend that's actually in the contract, the old agreement, compared to the new agreement, was an increase. Somewhere in that 5-year contract, a very large amount was promised to an employee to run shenanigans. That was not anywhere near the dollar amount that was in the collective bargaining agreement.
do we want to take this closed session?
No, I'm speaking general.
Okay.
So you can see what the collective bargaining agreement states from the old agreement to the new agreement. It's not a reduction, it's an increase. But somewhere in there, when there was reductions in musicals and reductions of the fall play, there was somewhere in here, there was a staff member then that got, I don't even know if they're with the district anymore, they were paid a larger amount of money to run shenanigans, and that's why, because there was, I think, the reduction of the fall play. And then, so then there was somewhat of a precedent set on how much that person was getting paid, so then we said, hey, you have to do at least 2 shows, you should do one in the fall and one in the spring, because you're getting paid a significantly larger amount that was in the contract. So when we went into collective bargaining this year, we gave that an increase compared to what was in the contract, but we said, this is more realistic of what that stipend should be. And the union's concern with that was, that's a significant drop off from the precedent that was set. So this person should only then be expected to do prepare for one show. So that's why maybe the students are hearing it as they're getting reduced by a show. But one of the concerns from the the union was the precedent that was set for 2 or 3 years of paying this larger amount. Since it went down, then the expectation should be that that person shouldn't have to do the same thing that the person was getting at the larger amount. In regards to $75 of what they pay, all of our performing activities pay $75. The musical does one performance. It's the same show 3 nights. So it's similar to Shenanigans doing one show but 2 nights in a row. Orchestras, I believe, I don't know if they do 2 concerts or one performance, but they pay $75. So I mean, that's kind of a background.
But-
I'm sorry.
Do the students meet the same, like, as a club all throughout the year?
I can answer that if you want.
I believe you are now throughout the year because you had to do 2 performances.
We meet almost every day throughout the entire year. At the beginning of the year, we audition new members, and at the beginning of the year, we're a little bit spotty. At the beginning of the second semester, we're a little bit spotty with meeting every day, but after that, we're meeting pretty much every day.
Kevin, what about exploring the possibility of volunteers to help shepherd them through?
We can. I think there might be some resistance because there's already a designated stipend for that program.
I agree with Matt.
Yeah, it might.
We should have a discussion in closed session
Okay.
about what the stipend was and the collective bargaining. It should be discussed in an open session. But the other thing is, we had a discussion before when didn't we used to have a fall play and a spring play? Or what did we, right?
Before I got here, I believe you did.
And when we made some cuts, at that time, we had a discussion that, well, Shenanigans is available in the fall, and we have the play in the spring.
Correct.
And, I don't ever remember anybody saying there were 2 Shenanigans productions, to be honest with you. But, so the other thing, there's a bit of a misconception about, the idea that $75 is for one event or something like that. I mean, our analysis of how we charge our fees isn't that sophisticated. It's for this type of
Just performing.
club, we
competitive,
charge this
right.
much. For this sport, we charge this much, or what have you, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll discuss
What-
the rest of it in the closed session.
Well, I have another question. Is it typical for a club and students to be meeting every day? That seems like a lot. Are you aware that students are meeting every day?
That's more of a building assistant principal, not even a principal necessarily, but I think some of that we should probably discuss in closed session, because we used the union and the administration came up with a comprehensive tool of how often the clubs are going to meet, and the stipends were generated collaboratively.
Okay? Because it's issues that come out in the public, and so it's good to know what we should be able to talk in public so that the public knows we are talking about them.
Are you opposed that they're meeting every day?
No, I'm not. So somebody's putting a lot of time into it.
Right.
And then, so they're putting probably more time than they're getting back in their stipend.
I'm assuming it's the students who are wanting to get together on almost a daily basis.
Right, but they have to have a teacher there with them to meet. Well, we don't know. We should find out. And then, could they have a second performance? Does it have to be the sponsor of that club?
Well, that's what we'll go into close and we'll talk
We'll
about
talk
it.
about it.
Right.
And is that a closed session?
That's a
Yeah,
closed
that's
session.
because that's personnel and how we.
Collective bargaining.
All right,
collective bargaining.
do I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Wait. You got it?
I mean,
You gotta read it out loud.
I resolve that the Board of Education, Riverside Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois, enters closed session for the purpose of considering appointment, employment, or dismissal of employees, student discipline, sale or lease of property, shenanigans, and litigation.
No, just take Shenanigans out because it's not in the agenda, so.
Okay, well, before we run away, Tim, your chart on the counts of the clubs, thank you very much. I thought, I don't know, we were gonna talk about it or not, but it's in our packet. You
Yes.
detailed that. We've asked you to
Hold on,
detail
wait,
that.
I got a
Thank you for
motion,
doing
I have a
that.
motion right now. So Ed made a motion, second by Gary
Yeah.
Gritchen. Mary Ann?
Ms. Ruska?
Yes.
Mr. Jobson?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Goodchick?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you all for being here tonight. Have a safe trip home. We'll see you in 2 weeks.